example, I have several thousand cases, but let's think about one right now. I had a gentleman who he had an import-export business. He used to travel to Southeast Asia for years and years, and he's always in a plane, you know, sometimes twice, three times a month. He's going back and forth for his business. Never had a problem. One time, he's in a plane, and all of a sudden, he started having problem in difficulty breathing. He ended up to be on oxygen all the way to that destination in Southeast Asia. And he ended up in a hospital for a couple of days. They tested everything, nothing wrong, came back, no problem. Another trip, same thing happens again. Going back there, same thing happens again. He ends up in an emergency room 3, 4, 5 times. So out of desperation, he ended up in my office. At the time I had an office. So when we did regression, see, this is what I told is very difficult to make the connection, is that when he was young, the parents used to travel a lot or used to be out quite a bit. They had a nanny. The nanny would come and take care of him. And they were gone for several hours every day or every week. One time, the nanny brought the boyfriend over, and him being a 3-year-old or 4-year-old, he didn't like the boyfriend. So he started making a lot of noise. Nanny put him in a closet, closed the door, and for 3 or 4 hours, he was in the closet shouting and screaming and crying, and Nanny was with the boyfriend outside. Now, those days, it may seem cruel now. Those days, they did it a lot. When kids were not good, they put them in a room, they closed it, and that was the end of it. Now, we look at life and kids differently. So what happened was, at that first trip, when he was sitting in the plane, a little kid in front of me, you know how kids crawl out of the chairs and look at the passengers behind him? The kid did. That kid looked like him when he was 3 or 4 or 5 years old. At that moment, he had a connection. He moved back 50 years, 60 years. And because the kid looked like him, he started to have memories from the time he was stuck inside that closet. He started having tears in his eyes, and he started having difficulty breathing. Now, how can you ever sit down and think about that I'm sitting in a plane, a kid crawls in front of me, looks at me, and I start having difficulty breathing? As a matter of fact, he never made that connection. But in hypnosis, that memory was brought up. He made a decision at that moment that that's gone. That was 40, 50, 60 years ago. There's no reason for me to think like that or act like that or behave like that. It's time for me to let it go. And after that, he was okay. I have case after case after case of situations like that where people have issues with breathing, issues sleeping at night, issues with relationships. And when you do this regression, you find out that, wow, that was something that you may not even think about. That was nothing big deal maybe in those days or whatever the issue was at that time. So here you go.
Wow, thank you. That's so interesting.